So let's talk through how we will plan and implement the lesson by going through this kind of reflective thinking process in how are we going to meet all the individual needs of the children in our class, and what would that look like? So if I think about the UDL principles, one of them would be the multiple means of representation. And knowing our classroom, we have some students who have difficulty reading grade level text. So with that being said, with our lesson about the Prezi and the WebQuest, we would have video included for students who are more of an auditory visual learner. And then we would also have students partnered together in small groups so the partner can always read aloud to the student, or they can define words or help them be able to decode words that might not be as familiar to them. We have a student in our class who has a hearing impairment, so that student, we would make sure that there was closed captioning on the YouTube video for them, as well as lots of visual representation. The guiding questions as part of our lesson will be scaffolded, and they will be broken down into first floor, second floor, third floor. But the guiding questions would help the students focus and be able to figure out and comprehend which questions do we need to answer, where can I find that information, and how will I best answer that. The guiding questions will also be broken down into headings, and it will be a little bit more organized for students who have difficulty with organization or might need a little bit more of a graphic organizer tool prior to creating the brochure themselves. We will also have the Prezi designed in a simple step-by-step, step 1, step 2, step 3 numbered format. And that reason is because the students who might have difficulty with attention or executive function might forget which step that they left off on, so they can just go back into the Prezi, either read through it or say, you know what, I know I did step 1, step 2, I must be on step 3. But they can do that themselves as they go through the process. The slides in the Prezi will also include images and colors that look very similar, if not exactly the same as what they will look like on the website when they go visit the website on the WebQuest. And that will help students who need visual representation and kind of clue them in on as to where to look and which headings to click on when they go through the WebQuest themselves and navigating through the websites. The lesson itself is designed to build background knowledge prior to our visit to the Rhode State House. So the hope is that the students will build their background knowledge and then use that knowledge to make connections and build upon what they might have already heard or learned when they have this real-life experience at the State House, which is really cool. Another principle of UDL, multiple means of action and experience. So by strategically grouping the students, we have to think about their levels, what their needs are, and behaviors. So with that into consideration, we're hoping that we can create groups of students who will be able to kind of work together, collaborate, and then individually choose their roles within the group, so based on their comfort level and their strengths. So there might be a student say, you know what, writing's not really my thing, so I think I'd rather select the images when we do the brochure. Or you know what, reading's pretty tricky for me sometimes. How about I help write this down? We work together on this. Also, each of the students will have the Prezi link and the brochure template and the graphic organizer saved into their individual student files. That way they can have access to it at any time, whenever they need to, whenever they want to. And the teachers are going to model how to toggle back and forth between tabs and websites and links and things like that. The students will be able to print their own brochures. They're going to share it at home with their families if they choose to. They're going to present them to the class and share with each other, discuss what they noticed, what they liked, offer any feedback or suggestions if they'd like, and they can bring them with them as a guide when we go on the actual State House field trip. We'll also be progress monitoring through observation. We'll be checking in with the students, individual students, with groups. The students will have their own checklist to progress monitor themselves, and then we will also have a brochure rubric so that we can progress monitor for the end product. And the last principle for UDL, means of engagement. So we have the amazing teacher talk video, which I think is pretty engaging and it's pretty funny, if you ask me, but that's between me and you. The Prezi format itself is pretty engaging. As the slides come up and the students actually have the footprints as they're walking through the journey, the amazing journey. So I think we designed it so that it would be engaging just in its presentation. Allowing the students to select their own images, to create their own headings, the title, to do an about the author. I mean, who wouldn't want to do an about the author, especially if you're proud of your work? The students will get to take ownership. It provides them freedom to choose what they want as long as it connects to the activity and has relevant information, but they have meaning behind what they chose and why they chose it, which is kind of a creative expression for them. In kind of a fun way. We also have 100% relevance because we will be going to the actual State House and hopefully have deeper meaning and maybe even understanding of the Rhode Island government. Collaboration and communication. So by creating the brochure and the students sharing the brochures and selecting the images and talking with each other, there's going to be a lot of collaborating, hopefully, and communicating. And then also constant communication between the peers themselves and their partners, because they're going to be working through it the entire time and talking about what to include, what not to include, what pieces of information, and you really have to really communicate and collaborate in order to do that, to put together an effective, beautiful, lovely piece. And then at the end, the students are going to complete a feedback form, and that's strictly for the teachers to help us with future planning. Should we do another web quest? What aspects did they like? Did they have any difficulties? Was it too many steps? Was the website itself difficult to navigate through? What about the time frame? How did they feel about that? Working with partners, things like that. So that's really to help the teachers themselves to assess whether or not we should do it in the future and help us with future planning. So I think that's pretty much it, and thank you so much.